Riley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, January 1st. So welcome to the very first day of January, the very first day of 2023. If you haven't listened to the 2023 energy forecast that I put out there, breaking down each month of this year, I'm going to recommend you do that. And then I'm going to recommend that you take a listen to January's energy forecast, where we kind of summarize and take a good look at the overview of some of the Astro events coming at us here in January. It would also be advisable if you downloaded your zodiac forecast for January so that you know where and when your life is going to change, what area it will be impacting the most due to some of the astrological aspects that are already definitely triggering us as we move into this brand new month and this brand new year. So the moon is in Taurus, really setting the stage on what it is that we can expect from the year ahead. The sun, the moon in earth energies, along with some of the other powerful planets, does suggest that this is going to be a year of building, stabilizing, creating, bringing life to, giving birth to absolutely new elements that are going to be strong enough in order to house the kind of energy and efforts we're going to be pouring in to new passions, new desires, new wants and needs that we have absolutely identified for ourselves through the course of 2022. So having the moon in this Taurus energy, we are low and slow. We are trying to stay in the present moment. We are just really focused on what is old, tried, tested, and true, what is comfortable, what is familiar. We really don't want to do too much looking back, which is kind of good for the very first day of a brand new year. And we really don't want to do too much of looking forward. Kind of seems overwhelming and a little bit tedious. So we are going to try our best to sit in the present moment, to have the attitude of gratitude, to focus on what makes us happy, what makes us feel good, and really get this brand new month, this brand new year off to a very solid start. So there are 9 different aspects here today. 7 of them involve the moon. The very first aspect that we have is a very interesting one because it also is kind of suggesting the vibe, the lesson that we are about to jump into this brand new month, into this brand new year. And it's between Venus and Pluto. So this is interesting. I want to spend a little bit of time to talk about this. First of all, Venus being the goddess of love, of beauty, of worth, of happiness, of pleasure, of joy, of money. She is in the final degrees of Capricorn energy as she is preparing to shift into Aquarius energy here on the 2nd. And she is conjunct, sitting next to, bumping into, teaming up with Pluto, the great transformer himself, that is also in Capricorn energy. So this is definitely going to highlight for us a new level of empowerment, a new power struggle, if you will, in our love and relationship area, and even in our money and financial area as well. Now, what's interesting about this is that this time last year, Venus was pretty much in a retrograde situation. She did a little bit of an inner realm journey of her shadow self, and she danced with the devil, Pluto himself, for quite some time. We actually entered into 2022 going through a cycle of reevaluation of our own self-worth, our own self-value, our own self-confidence. And of course, Pluto takes us down the trip of the memory lane, the darkest lane of our pain, our trauma, our experiences, not to paralyze us, not to, keep us in a wound cycle, but to show us where it is that we've survived, where it is that we've struggled, where it is that we've overcome. And hopefully those particular memories will act as an inspiration and act as a catalyst in order for us to boss up, to do better, to be better, to take control over our lives, to stand in a new place of authority in our lives and actually make life happen for us instead of sitting back and letting life happen to us. Now, having these two kind of pop off on the very first day of this brand new year would suggest that, again, when you listen to the 2023 forecast, you will know that relationships are a major factor, major focus for us for the course of 2023. and Venus and Pluto coming together is definitely bringing an intensity, an intense focus, intense feels. There is going to be a lot of energy building up, good, bad, or otherwise, that will have us transforming and bossing up to levels of confidence, of worth, of value that will really set the tone and have a reverberatory effect on our relationship dynamics as we move throughout the year. So the moon goes ahead, semi-squares Neptune. Semi-square is a little bit of a tension point. The moon being in Taurus and Neptune being in Pisces. This is earth and water. Because it's a semi-square, it would likely be that we are feeling a little bit of the muddy emotions, if you will. The moon in Taurus just wants to focus on the here and now, and Neptune in Pisces just wants to visualize and dream about the future. And this is why we're having this struggle. And we may have a even harder time aligning with our intuition, aligning with a new vision in a dream, because the moon in Taurus just wants us to enjoy this moment, to have attitude of gratitude and acceptance for this present moment. The present is supposed to be a gift. So we should do the best that we can to just take in where it is that we're at, instead of contemplating how it is that we got here and where it is that we want to go from here. The moon is going to make an awkward interaction with Mars, who again is retrograde in Gemini energy. This is probably going to frustrate us a little bit because the moon in Taurus is kind of in relax mode, rejuvenation mode. And Mars is super frustrated, a little bit agitated that he still can't take action. He still can't make any moves. He's still stuck in the inner realm of the intellect, battling out the pros and cons of our choices, of what it is that we want to pour our time and our energy into. Another instance where, again, there's a certain energy trying to get us to look forward when the moon, our emotions, just wants us to be okay here in this present moment. The moon is going to trine, which is a beautiful energy, with the sun. We have Earth on Earth, the moon in Taurus, the sun in Capricorn. What we get here is a beautiful, beautiful contrast. Normally speaking, the moon has us focused on the past. The sun has us focused on the future. And normally speaking, when the sun and the moon come together, what we're left with is looking back, looking ahead, and then being stuck here in this present moment, realizing what it is that we have to walk away from in order for us to gain distance, space, and momentum to get closer to the goals that we are setting for ourselves. So this trine is actually a beautiful energy for us to just be okay in the present moment, to understand that, there's been a lot to look back upon, a lot to process, and there's a lot to think about, a lot of goals to set, a lot of things to do in the future. But right now, we just want to enjoy this present moment. It is okay to just be. Now, the sun is going to bump into Neptune, shining a bright light on our intuition, on our imagination, on our healing. Gotta love this. The sun, of course, in Capricorn energy is very karmic in nature. It's an earth energy, so we're focused on our long-term goals, although, again, the moon in Taurus doesn't want us to think too far ahead. But we are tapping into a new level of really trying to align with a new vision, with a new dream, and recognizing what it is that we have to kind of heal as far as the past goes before we're going to be freed up and kind of have the freedom to move forward. So this is shining a bright light on some intuitive insights, definitely going to be feeling all the good feels, and a huge, huge opportunity here to just kind of release a lot of the emotional weight that 2022 has definitely put on our heart space and on our shoulders. The moon in Taurus is going to come up to and conjunct the North Node in Taurus, which means that the moon is also opposing the South Node in Scorpio. So the true node is our soul's path. It's our destiny's point. It's the path that we need to be on in order to reach our new mission and our new purpose. Now, this is, I'm going to say, a powerful energy for releasing and for gaining. So what does that mean? It means that we are releasing a lot of the emotional weight of the South Node in Scorpio, which has us kind of stuck, fixated to bringing up the shadow elements, our past pain, our past trauma. And it is providing us an opportunity to release that in order to gain momentum, to gain insight, to gain clarity on where it is that we need to move forward. Very much the North Node in Taurus. So the moon being our emotions, being our unconscious self, we are definitely going to feel an intensity build with this particular aspect. But sometimes we need the pressure to build in order for a true release to take place. And sometimes we can breathe a little bit easier again. Sometimes the energy in our head gets lighter. Sometimes some of the emotions that we thought we were never going to get rid of just suddenly disappear. I feel like this is going to be a good time to examine our growth and still be very considerate and aware of what it is that we still need to work on. The moon is going to bump into Chiron, which does suggest that we are going to have to sit in the funk. We are going to have to examine those wounds. We are going to have to feel before we heal. Now, the earlier trigger of the moon being conjunct with the North Node and opposite the South Node, kind of giving us that contrast on, the pain and the trauma of the past and wanting to clear the slate and lighten the load to enter into the future. Chiron, being the wounded healer, is definitely going to rub salt in those wounds so that we're aware of them, so that we can just be a little bit more consciously aware of what we still have to work on. Now, this isn't supposed to be a Debbie Downer situation. It's supposed to show us, in the grand scheme of things, how much we have to celebrate by how much we've gone through, how much we've endured, and how we're still surviving. And although it may be painful, it's part of the process. And when we actually feel what it is that we need to feel, that is when the healing can begin. Now, it is suggestive that there is going to be a major shift, and here's how we know. The moon is going to come up to, conjunct, sit next to, bump into Uranus, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. Uranus is the great awakener. He likes to shock us. He likes to awe us. He likes to shift our mental plane, shift our perspective, shift our understanding. Because we were just kind of going through the processing of some heavy emotions, this would suggest that we're able to shift our perspective and our heart space quite easily if we are open-minded and open-hearted enough to do so. I love this energy because it means that it reverberates through our soul space. It kind of shows us where it is that we can't change the past. We can't fix the past. All we can do is kind of accept it. And all we can do is integrate it in the here and now so that it can become a part of us, contribute to the wholeness, if you will, as we attempt to move forward. So the moon is going to semi-square, a little bit of a tension point, with Jupiter, who's all about growth, expansion, belief, and abundance. Jupiter is now in Aries energy, a fire energy. He's really rearing to go. He's really pushing us, the intensity, the impulses that we feel to put ourselves out there, to, make a change, to make some serious moves in our life. Of course, isn't going to bode very well with the moon in Taurus, who just wants to be, right? We just want to appreciate the present moment. We do not want to think about all the growth, all the expanding that we have to do, all the opportunities that we have yet to seize. We don't want to think about it. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to feel that intensity, feel that impulse take over, but just know that this is why we have the semi-square. It does create a little bit of a tension, a little bit of a conflict, because we don't want to go there right now. We're trying really hard to just stay present in this moment and have an appreciation for the here and now. So, overall, not a bad first day of the month, not a bad first day of the year, but it is going to be a little bit of a challenge for us to gain control over our emotions, over our mental plane, and really keep the focus on staying grounded so that we can appreciate the present moment in the here and now.